You should see something. Yay, recording. Yep, cool. All right. So what we're going to do is we are going to build some blocks. Now, blocks are really useful for doors. They're useful for windows, any furniture, cabinetry, anything that's going to move together. Maybe a stove, maybe an island, maybe a sink, right? Anything that's a group of lines that you want to keep together can become a block. Okay, so real quick, I'm just gonna open this up and let's see if I've got it here. Oh, wrong folder. Edmonds. Let's go to Spring and see what we got in here. Final projects. Do I have? Oh, that's looking for DWTs. Let's look for this. Why don't I see it? That's okay. I was just going to pull up an example that you guys will get later. I will be providing blocks for you for your final project. But until then, we need to learn how to draw our own. Okay. So let's go ahead and I'll just get into it and we'll start looking at basics. So the basics of a block is you need to have multiple items that you want to group. Okay. So if I just drew a polyline, I can't take this and type in block. It will. Actually, that's right. In the new, in 22 and beyond, it will let you draw a single polyline for a block. So you can actually, because what it'll allow you to do later, you could explode this and make that into two little lines. So anything you draw, you can select and save it as a block. So let's just go ahead and start by drawing. Let's just make a little table to start with. That'll be good. So let's take our rectangle tool and let's go a little bit to the right here. And I want to just zoom in and I want to draw a rectangle that's roughly, we'll go 3 feet by 3 feet. So it's a square, right? So let's go 3 foot. And then if you hit tab, it'll get to the other side of the rectangle where you can type in your dimension and set a rectangle. You could also draw a polyline that is, draw that over 3 foot, draw that down 3 foot, right? Draw that over 3 foot, draw that up 3 foot, right? So you could do that. Either way works, okay? This way was just a lot less clicks, right? So I like to be efficient. And if I can type in a number, that's what I want to do. Just type in, hey, here's the length I want, here's the width I want, and I'm moving on. Instead of playing with trying to stretch that out or get the exact length with my mouse or draw them all individually. So we're going to zoom into this. And I want you to draw a construction line. And now I want you to take ortho off. And we're going to draw a construction line to the center point. So now yours may or may not have this center point that comes up. If you don't, make sure that the geometric center is turned on in your object snaps. And that will allow you to grab a center of an object. So I'm just going to draw a line from there to there. And I am going to draw, and we'll make it nice and we'll make it kind of easy. So I'm going to draw a circle, and I'm just going to draw a circle on the midpoint. And I want that circle radius to be, we'll go 3.5 inches. So I can either stretch my mouse to exactly where it says 3.5 inches, or I can type in 3.5 inches, and there's the radius of that circle. Or there's that circle based on the radius of 3.5 inches revolving around the center of this midpoint. So does everyone have, again, this line, all we're doing, and if I want, I guess I could have drawn it on here, but that's a construction line, right? That's just something for us to be able to place that leg of the table. I could have gotten really crazy and we could have gotten it really close to this edge, and I don't care. Right now, it's easy. We're just trying to get some center points. So now that we have one circle for representing a leg, how might we create our other three legs without drawing them from scratch?
An array.
An array. So you could do an array. The only problem with an array is I need to know my exact spacing between these two prior to it. So if I was going to place it in this exact spot, I could draw like a line this way, find my, and I know that that's 1'6". So I could do an array, and I like that idea. I really like that thought. So let's try it with an array. So now that we know it's 1'6", let's go ahead and click this circle. Come up to array. Again, we're going to use a rectangular array on this one. And by default, it might throw 3x4. We just want 2 columns by 2 rows. And we want the distance to be 18 inches between them, right? 1'6", 18 inches there, and 18 inches there. And that put our legs in that exact spot. So, Kat, thank you for that. That was a great suggestion.
Thanks.
Something that I typically probably wouldn't have used. But that's why I want to explore all these modifying commands, right? Explore ways that you can take one object, multiply it, copy it, mirror it, whatever, array it in this instance, right? So what I would have done, but I really like the way that Kat did that. Let's go ahead and copy. I'm going to copy this whole thing over just so I have it again. Copy, and I'm actually going to copy it, and I'm going to explode it, because right now that array is all grouped together since we arrayed it, right? So if I explode this array, EXPLODE, it will now make all of these individual circles, right? And I'm going to go back and delete these other 3 circles that we copied on there with an array and go to here. So the one advantage of the way that I'm going to show you right now is we don't need to measure anything. It's all based on center points or flipping it over the center. So it's going to be the same distance spacing either side. So let's try this. Now that I have this circle, I'm going to mirror it. Now, I could mirror this and then mirror it again and mirror another circle and have 3 mirror commands, but that seems like a little bit of a waste. So what I want to do is I want to select the circle, and knowing that this is the geometric center of my square, I am going to use mirror, M-I-R-R-O-R. I'm going to click the geometric center and I'm going to drag to the left. And what that's going to do is place one straight above me, right? With the same spacing based off of the center. That makes sense. I'm just mirroring it up. And then, no, I don't want to erase the source object. So that allowed me to create one. Now I could mirror this one and I could mirror the other one, or I could do it in one command. So let's grab both of these, use our mirror command again. This time, instead of taking this endpoint and dragging left, because we're not splitting it top and bottom, we want to split left and right. We're going to take this midpoint, endpoint, and then drag straight down. Again, no, I don't want to erase the source object. And there we go. I have my 4 table legs in the same placement. And you know what? If I take this and move it, it's exactly the same, right? So it doesn't matter which way we go about it, as long as your mirroring or arraying around center points, right? So we needed to find those two center points to get that 1'6" to be able to know the distance we wanted to space the legs. But once we found that, it's a one move, right? It's just array. You don't have to mirror twice. So I don't know which way is better, which way is faster. They're both fine. Okay. I'm going to undo that so it's back over here. And now we're going to look at creating our first block. So again, this is a pretty basic table design. These legs are inset quite a bit, but that's okay. They're pretty large legs, so we can do that. A lot of times we'll end up building like, you know, a little square leg on the corner, but we'll have a little inset. It doesn't really matter. The point that does matter is that we've got all four quadrants the same, right? I don't want to have this situation, right, where I have that, right? That's funky. That's not going to work out well. Or even worse, have something that ends up like this, where we now end up with all of them being different, right? We want to keep that symmetry. Okay, so mirroring, arraying are very easy ways to place things exactly where you want them without a lot of hassle. All right, so let's make this into a block. So first things first, to make a block, the easiest thing to do to start is to go ahead and select all of the objects and or lines. So again, this one we've got, you know, some polylines and some circles. And I'm going to select all of those objects. And one thing I always like to do is visually, okay, look, how many objects should I have? I've got 4 circles and a square, right? So I should have 5 objects. This is important because sometimes you might have this. Now, when I grab that, it looks like I have 5 objects, right? Because that circle's on top of each other. Don't just forget that I copied it. But when I go to the left-hand side on the properties, I see 6. Okay. So visually, you just want to check and confirm that what you're selecting matches what you're expecting to select, right? You can get into building blocks and have something that maybe you did a selection and you didn't realize it, and maybe there was something way over here that got selected in your block, right? So now you created this block and you try to place it everywhere, and you place that door and you're like, why are these lines placing, 50 feet away? Anything that's selected when you grab that, when you convert it to a block, is going to be included in that block. So important to take a look and make sure that you know that, yes, I've got the exact object selected that I want and it matches the quantity. So once I've confirmed that, I'm going to go ahead and type in straight up block, B-L-O-C-K. Enter. And it's going to bring up the block editor. Actually, this is the block definition. We can open the block editor, but we're not going to get into that right now. So I don't care to be editing. This is a whole nother window. It's stupid. But we want to name this block 3-foot table with 3.5-inch R for radius, round legs. Okay. Putting in a proper description in your block is going to help you out. Okay. Especially if you have things that may have similar things. Maybe you've got a 3-foot table with square legs, a 3-foot table with round legs, a 3-foot. When we get into our block prop palette, which we'll get into in a second, once we create a couple blocks, when we get into that palette, you see a thumbnail of what the block looks like, but it's really hard to see. So having the proper name on it allows you just to grab that and bring it over. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay. Now, one thing that I like to do is I like to specify where I want the base point of the object. You don't have to do this, but if you don't specify or pick a point of the base point, it will try to just drop that block in every time right on 0, 0, 0. Okay. What that means is every time I create this block, I'm going to hit cancel. it would try to drop it right where this UCS is, because it's saying, hey, I have instructions over here to put it at 0, 0, 0, right? That's what it's telling you unless you specify otherwise. So what I want to do is I want to call this, again, I deleted it. I'm going to rename it. So 3-foot table with 3.5 R round legs. And now I'm going to use my pick a point tool. Now the pick a point tool allows me to pick a base point. So when I grab this from my palette, it's going to insert exactly where I click my mouse for the final insertion. So I'm going to click this pick point. It's going to say, hey, where do I want that? And I'm going to say right here, I want the relative or the geometric center of that table to be my insertion point. Once I click it, it's going to specify an X and a Y axis for it. Okay, no big deal. Click OK. And now I have an object that is a block reference. Okay, so if you hover over it, you'll see that it's a block reference. It should all select as one item, right? Because it's one entity now. It's a group essentially. And right here, you can see the name. All right, so let's go ahead and build one more block before we get into the block palette. So this was just a basic table. Let's do the same door as we have over here. So let's do a 2-foot 6-inch door with a left swing. So this is a left swing. The door's on the left-hand side when it swings. This is a right swing. The door's on the right-hand side. We want to create probably 2 different blocks because I don't want to always have to insert a door that the swing is on a particular side. All right, so having multiple options of the same block, whether it's a left-facing or right-facing or right-hand swing, left-hand swing door, will give you some advantages coming from your block editor or from your block palette to choose the right block to drop in. Because I don't want to drop this door in this location. That's not the right door swing for it. I want the door to open and barely clear this back wall, right? So this is 3 foot out. This is 2 foot 6. There'll be a 6-inch opening. I don't want this door swing to go this way. I want to maximize the room, not cut it in half. Okay. So having multiple swing options is a good thing. So we're going to build, we'll just start with this one on the right, which is going to be a left-hand swing. So again, I'm just keeping all of this in white right now, just because my red for doors does not show up very well on the in-class screen. It's just really hard to see. It's a dark red. So I'm just going to keep it in white. I don't care what layer you put it on. And in fact, we don't have one, but you could even create your own layer for blocks if you wanted to. Okay, I'm just going to leave it on the dimensions and annotations. I don't care where it lives. Down the road, we'll make sure that our blocks get on the same layer that they're supposed to be on. So there's one. Let's make the door. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line. Again, very basic. 2 foot, 6 inches. I'm going to draw the same line, and I could have drawn a polyline, but I wanted to keep these separate so I could copy and rotate without the other end of it trying to rotate with it. So I'm going to draw that 2 foot 6 up. I guess we're starting with a right-hand swing. That's because that's what I'm starting with. So again, just like we did before, I'm going to copy this, copy it over. Again, you could copy it in the same spot and like copy and paste it, but it's really hard to know which line you're selecting. So I like to just bring it over, rotate it, and then move it back to the base point. That way you don't have lines on top of each other that you're trying to select one versus the other. So now I can take this and use my rotate command, specify my first point, 45 maybe. Yeah, there we go. 45 on that one. Perfect. And I'm going to move this from the base point of the line to the base point of this corner, which gives us our basic 3-point arc layout, right? We've got endpoints, so we can now hit that 3-point arc. So let's go ahead and go to our arc, go to our 3-point arc, first point, second point, third point, and then last but not least, we're going to give it a little bit of door thickness. So we're going to copy this line 1.5 inches to the right. We're going to delete this bottom line, delete this bottom line, or that center line, and then draw our door width. And so this is what the door swing should look like. A lot of times you might see a little variation of this, but this is for the most part. Like if I jump up to here and go to Cola 3 and look at a background, there's your door swing. Very basic, same type of thing, right? It may or may not have a width to that door if they model it or not. But same type of thing where you're having that arced radius to show that door swing. Anytime you've got a door, you need to have some type of that arc to show that that's a door swing. If not, you could, if it's a pocket door or a slider, you could do that too. Obviously, it's not going to have a door swing, but you just need to put some annotation into what you're doing there, right? Pocket door slides in or whatever. So, but that's pretty standard to have that door swing. You may or may not see the thickness of the door. Some architects do it, some don't. Some of it's just 2D line work. Some of it's actually modeled content. But if I put in a door in here and I had a wall, I don't have any, but if I had a wall, it would put a door in the wall and it would show me that swing. Okay. All right, back to our program. So now that we have this, we can do two things from here. We could either make a block right now, or we could mirror this over and get our start for our left-hand swing door, right? Again, I don't want to draw something twice if I don't have to, right? Anything you draw once can probably be utilized again in a mirror command, a rotate command, a copy something, right? We don't want to, it takes a long time to draw every line hand by hand, right? That's the reason we create blocks, so we can move items together. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and create this as a block right now. We will explode it, and then we'll create the other block. So just a couple different processes. But you could copy this over, you could mirror it over, but we're just going to convert this into a block from here. So I want you to select all of the items. Again, we should have the same amount as we had on the table because we have an arc for one, and we have 4 lines that make up that door. Okay, so that's going to give us 5 total items in our properties. Same thing as before. To make a block, we just start typing block, right? And again, it's going to say, what do we want to name it? I'm going to name this 2-foot 6-inch right hand swing door. I'm going to pick a point, and I'm going to say I want it. And now with a door, this point right here, that's what's going to meet up with the door jamb, right? So that's where I want to choose for my insertion point. So then later on, I'm not having to place it in the middle or try to find, another place for it. This table, I don't really care. I'm going to be placing that in the middle of a room, right? Or somewhere, in an open space. It's not going to be connected to something. When you're grabbing a door, we want to use that inside jamb. So I'm going to click here, set that as my point, 2-foot 6-inch right-hand swing door. That looks good. And, oh, that's right. It doesn't like, what doesn't it like? Does it not like inches? It doesn't like inches. So I'll just go. 2, and you could do 2 foot 6 inch, or you could type in 30 inches, whatever you want to do. It doesn't like special characters. So depending on what it is, it'll allow you to use some or not use some depending. So you just got to try it. And if you get an error, you just delete them and try to rename it. So let's go ahead and click OK. And now we have our second block. So we have our table. We have our right-hand swing door. Let's go ahead and build our last one, which is going to be our left-hand swing door. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this and explode it just because I think it's useful to learn. We could mirror it across right now, but it still remains as a block. So I'm going to copy this. And when you copy a block, it stays a block, right? It's not going to just automatically copy this and then turn it into a bunch of different line segments. You made it a block, it's going to stay a block. However, we can explode our blocks. So EXPLODE, explode. And now I have these as individual line segments and arc again.
Hey, Graham.
Yes.
I got a little lost when we were doing the table block, and so I went to go make my table block a block after I did the door, and now
Okay.
when I select one of them, it highlights both of them.
Because they're all in a block. So what I want you to do, can you share your screen and we'll just walk through it? This
Sure.
is a great example.
You're sharing, so.
Oh, sorry. I hate that I can't. Here, I'll stop share. There you go. I'm so used to Teams that we can just override each other as soon as we want to share something.
How's that?
All right. So you made one of them. Now that whole thing is now a block, right? So when you click that one item, okay. So what I want you to do is hit the type in explode.
All right.
Okay. And now those are all individual segments again. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So let's recreate. No, I don't want you to, nope, don't, you're mixing and matching.
Yeah.
So let's keep the table stuff separate from the door stuff. So let's go select all those table items. Again, you can click to the left of it once. Yep, exactly. And now type in block.
Okay.
And now let's call that one 2 foot 6 inch right door or whatever. Or you can just interior right door. I don't care, whatever it is.
Okay, I mean, I selected the table for this one, though, I think.
No, you've got, oh, you have the door. Oh, you're right. So, okay. So then type in table. So then 3 foot table or whatever. I don't care what it's called right now. Again, the more blocks you have, the more important it is to name them accordingly. Right now, if we only have one table, I'm not going to have, a bunch of different options. Go ahead now and click the pick point button. And I want you to go click the geometric center of that. So, yep, right there. Perfect. Now, yep. Now go ahead and click OK. And now you have a table block. Wait, do you already have it as a block? I think you might.
I already have a door block, I think.
No, I think your block. Hit no. Hit cancel. Go click the block to the left. Is that a block? No, that's not a block. So you don't have a block there. Okay. Why was it saying that already exists? All right.
I think I have this door block. I have this. This is a block.
Yeah, but what's that called?
30-inch right swing door.
So it shouldn't have. So that's right. But you should still be able to create the table. So let's go select them again. I don't know why it didn't.
Yeah, 5.
Okay, type in block. And then just type in table and pick point. And just to appease me, can you go click that pick point button again and click a top corner just so we are picking a different point than from before. There you go. Perfect. Now click OK. Block definition has changed. Do you want, okay. So what this is saying, sorry, I didn't read this fully. What this is saying is you had created a block using those parts and pieces already, right? Since you had made it into a door, you would,
Mm-hmm.
so just click that redefine button and it's going to say, I want this new 5 items to be that block. There you go. Perfect.
Oh, okay.
So you got one there and one there. All right, now let's copy that door.
All right. So mm,
Uh, yeah, I typically will select the objects before I go to the modifier. Then you don't have to hit enter.
okay.
It's just a little bit better workflow, but you can select the modifier first. You just have to then select a bunch of items, then hit enter to get to the next command. So just
Yeah.
copy that from there and just copy it over to the right. I don't care. Just copy it. Yeah, perfect. Right there. Drop it up. Okay, hit escape. Click on that block. Type in explode. Okay, and now we're back together.
Cool.
You're back with us. All right,
All right.
I'll share.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody for your patience there while we make sure that we're all on the same page. Share screen. We'll go ahead and share that guy. Okay. All right, can we see this? So this one is still a block, right? This is my right-hand swing door. This one I copied over as a block, but then I exploded it, so I now have individual segments, right? So now what I want to do is I'm going to take this whole thing and mirror it, and we're going to make a left-hand swing door. But we don't necessarily need to have some crazy mirror lines, because if we just type in mirror, we can use the axis of this door to mirror it about the axis. So let's just click the bottom of the door, the top of the door, and on this one, we want to click Y and enter. Or type in yes and enter. The reason being is we want to get rid of the other side of that door. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. It deletes that first one. And now I have the right-hand swing as a block and the left-hand swing as individual segments, but it's facing the correct direction. Okay. Any questions with that simple mirror command? And we were just utilizing this line as the center point. Again, you could do that. I'm going to go back a couple steps. With this type of an object, if you're just mirroring something that it's not placed somewhere, it's not necessarily important that you grab a specific mirror line. Like when we mirrored that wall across over here, it was really important that this, whether you got to here by a construction line or you grab the midpoint, it's really important to grab this midpoint right here, draw down, because it's going to flip this to the other side and I wanted it to land in the right spot, right? This one, this isn't placed yet, right? So if I type in mirror, I can click anywhere as long as I drag straight up. If I drag or drag straight down, either way, as long as I bring that vertical, it will mirror the right direction. So I don't, now the offset's a little bit farther, right? But I don't care. We're going to make it a block or we're going to move it around. So when you're dealing with blocks or items that haven't been placed, anywhere you mirror that, as long as you flip it over, will be fine. Does that make sense? Because we're not trying to place it in a specific spot at this point. Yes, I want to erase the source object. And then last but not least, we'll go ahead and create a block out of this. So let's select it all. Type in block. Now, one thing that's kind of cool is that once you name one of your blocks, it will appear in your drop-down list. So instead of typing a bunch of stuff and calling this 2'6" right-hand swing door and then finding out, or sorry, that was the exact same nomenclature, 2'6", maybe I call this left swing door or whatever. I like to make sure that whatever I'm copying or mirroring and creating another version of is named the exact same thing except whatever direction it is, right? So this one is going to be right hand swing door. I'm going to click that, delete that right, and just type in left. Okay, super simple. But then we have all of the same nomenclature, right? We don't have to retype it. It's the same as the other one. Alphabetically, it's going to sort right next to each other, right? So it's not going to put one way down. Maybe you put in left-hand swing door 2'6", right? If you reorder it, now we've got one of them that's going to appear at the top of our palette and one of them that's going to appear at the bottom of our palette because of the naming conventions. Okay, so having things named like items is really important. Okay, last but not least, I'm going to pick a point. Again, I'm going to pick the inside of that door jamb as my insertion point. Right. Select objects. For some reason, these got deselected. There we go. Convert to block. Now, one thing, this button right here, allow exploding. I always keep it on just in case I need to explode something later. But if you are certain that that's what you want, you never want it to change, you never want to be able to break apart that block, you can take that allow exploding off and it will keep it as a solid block. And it's just annoying if I do that and then I click on this item and type in explode, it says one could not be exploded. Okay, so that's what it's, if you get back into here, I type in, let's see, I've got to go into the block editor to change that, but we can just go, I undid that block command. Okay, so we're good. 2'6" left-hand swing door. And here is my 2'6" right-hand swing door. All right, I'm going to close this stupid new former connect thing. You probably don't see that on your screen because you don't have that add-in. But, and then last but not least, I'm just going to move this so it's a little bit closer to this door, just so all of my blocks are in the same general area. Before they had the block palette, back in the day, you were able to make blocks, but you would literally build your own block palette. Like we'd put a door up here and then a right-hand swing door. And we'd build all these objects that you could come up to here, copy it and bring it down. Copy this, bring it down. With the block palette, we no longer have to do that. So that's what's really cool about this is I can actually now take these blocks and if I wanted to, I could, I'm not going to, but I could hit delete and I'm not going to delete my blocks. It's going to delete that instance, but that block still exists. Okay. And that's where we're going to go now. So I want to type in block palette. So it's actually blocks palette. It's dumb because it's the plural, right? So it's blocks palette. And if you just type in blocks, it automatically comes up. And let's go ahead and hit enter. And you should see this lovely, lovely block palette come up. And I'm going to go ahead and just dock this guy. I like to keep this one docked on the right-hand side. Let's see, why are you not docking for me? Okay. Okay. So, and you'll see now we have the 3 blocks that we created, our left-hand swing door, our right-hand swing door, and our 3-foot table. So you can see the thumbnail of it, right? But if you got something super detailed, maybe a part or piece for a machine, maybe a gear, and you've got all types of different ones that look similar, you can't tell from this thumbnail from, the 10,000 foot mark. You just can't tell. It's not big enough, especially if the block gets that big. Because that title block right there is, I think, 30. I think that's 42 by 36 by default. Let's see. Arc D, yeah. 42. Should tell me somewhere. But this should be a 42, 36. Anyhow, so but that 42 by 36, you can't tell that what's in there on that title block, right? Maybe you have multiple different title blocks that you're using, right? So having that name in there is nice. And it's the more descriptive you can make it, and I think we can bring this out. Let's see if we can. I thought there was a way to expand these, but I don't know if that's an option. Right here, you can change it to list D, and this is what I end up doing. So a lot of times I don't care what it looks like. I just want the list, right? I just want to know what I'm grabbing, read the whole thing. With an icon, when you have the icons, oh, sorry, you're not going to really see that full name. Okay. So even with the extra large, you can't read the whole thing. And as soon as you start to get like 20 or 30 blocks, you're just scrolling. So I like the list, again, personal preference, but those are options for you. All right. So let's go ahead and drag this down. Now, one thing you noticed real quick, and I don't know if you noticed it, but this was trying to drag onto here. How big is that door? It looks really big, right?
60 inches.
60 inches. Well, this sheet is 42 wide. So this is actually the size of the door in real life compared to the size of the plot. Okay. So this is a quote unquote 1-to-1 scale when you drop it on paper space. Okay. We haven't touched about paper space yet, but I saw it right now. And it's something that, oh my gosh, this is so big. What am I doing? Make sure that you're working in model space. We should be working in this black background. Okay. Paper space is something that we will get into when we start putting our sheets together. But for now, we want to work in model space. Okay. So now when we grab this, it's going to drop it into the right size. So what I want to do real quick is I want you to turn off your doors layer. And I want to take this whole thing and I want to copy it. Let's copy it just 30 feet to the south. So 30 feet down.
Graham, I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry. I lost my drawing. Do you know the trick to get again my drawing out?
Oh, Z enter E enter.
Z enter E enter. Z enter E enter.
Yeah. Nothing. Type in zoom.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So zoom extents is what you're looking for. If you zoom way in or way out and you can't find your stuff, zoom or Z. Yeah, let's Z enter, and then it gives you a lot of them. E for extents is going to bring up everything in your project on one screen. Okay. So if you did have something that you drew by accident way out here, and I hit Z, E enter, it's actually, you can see this is my drawing up here that I'm working on right in that top left corner. And my other line is in the bottom right. So it's going to be whatever the full distance of your drawing is. Okay. So now that I delete that line, I can do the same thing. Z enter, E enter, and I'm right back to look. All right. So let's go ahead now and turn the doors back on. And what we should see is we should now see, since that layer was off when we copied it, we didn't copy those doors down with us. We copied the openings, the dimensions on them, but we didn't actually copy that door because it was on a different layer. If it wasn't on a different layer and you copied it, go ahead and just select that door and delete it. Because I want to do the last 5 minutes of this is is utilizing inserting these blocks. Okay, so first things first, let's just grab the easiest one. We don't have to place this in a perfect position. I just want it to be placed somewhere in the middle of this right room. So if I click this 3-foot table, all you got to do is click it and then bring your mouse over. So since we specified the center on that block when we were building the block, it's now, you can see my crosshair is at that center mark, right? So I'm just going to place it right there. That's fine. And now I'm going to do my right hand swing door. So again, we use the bottom right corner of the, so bottom left corner of the door, it would be the right corner of the door jamb as our insertion point. So if I click this once, and then bring my mouse and zoom in right where this door jamb is, that should place that door in the exact location I want it from the first time. Now, it won't do that if you didn't specify that that bottom corner is where you wanted to insert. Let's just do one more real quick because I'm just gonna show you. Let's just do this. I'll do, oh, I don't want to circles are dumb for this anyways. Let's just do, and I'll just do a triangle. Or yeah, I'll just do a line. Okay, so if I don't do anything, let's just go ahead and do this. Select that. I'm going to type in block. I'm going to type in test triangle. Again, you guys don't need to do this, but I'm not going to do anything here. Okay, I'm just going to click OK. Now, when I grab my test triangle, I try to place it. Look at where it is in relation to my cursor. Since I didn't specify that point, or any point for that matter, it's going to just place it as if it was in the location of the XY axis based on, so it's going to place it based on where the UCS is, which is this center piece right here. And just going to, that's 0, 0, 0 coordinates. So it's going to place it essentially in the exact same spot or with the same offset. So it's not very advantageous to utilize blocks that you can't use one of the corners or the center as your insertion point. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a huge step in blocks. And I know it's something that a lot of people look over because they're like, okay, well, I can just take this, and you could, right? I could take this right here, and I'm going to do it on the next door for just an example. So we did a right-hand swing door. Let's do the left-hand swing. I'm just going to place it right here. Okay. I could come in here, select this block, type in move, go specify the base point, and turn my ortho off and come down here and say, this is where I want the base point to be. But every time you bring in a block, do you want to have to move it like that? I think it's a lot easier to take that block and right from your block palette, 1 click, 2 click, and we're good to go. Okay. So specifying, that's why I use that specify point. It's going to place it wherever you click that specify. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go ahead and place these 2 block doors in your location down here. We didn't build one for the 3-foot one, so don't worry about that. And then tonight, this is what I want for a screenshot. Is just something that shows me your couple little blocks. If you didn't get to this point, again, not the end of the world, but I'd like to see you figure out how to copy that block around, how to insert it. Maybe you didn't get there right now. Let's make sure we understand how to do that before next week. Okay. Any questions? I know it's a lot that we covered right there at the end. It'll just be a lot easier next week when we see it again. Okay, blocks aren't going away. Blocks are here to stay. We'll be building windows. We'll be building other types of blocks. Same principle applies, right? The exact same principles all the time. You draw it what you want. You select the amount of lines that you think you should have, double check it in your properties, right? Because if you duplicate something, you're going to continue to duplicate that. Once it's in the block, you have to go into a block editor to edit it. And to be honest, it's easier just to delete the block and redraw it a lot of times. The block editor can be very touchy.
So that's one question I had. So when we were talking about naming conventions, I went through
Yes.
and created those blocks. Could you really quickly show us how to delete blocks? It doesn't seem very straightforward. So you get remove, clear. Yeah,
So
I just
if we go here to current drawings, let's see, deleting blocks. Don't even know if there's a good way to delete. Let's see. Libraries. Here, let's go to your nope, that's your open block libraries. Nope. So that's where we're gonna bring favorites. See, everything here is just your recent or your favorites. Here, let's do this. Delete block and bring up. Objects that have been deleted.
so one of those guides kind of directed me towards B edit.
Okay.
as a command.
What? So that's the block edit is what B edit is. So
Even with that though, it wasn't clear how to just delete a block.
and that's what I'm saying, that once you build it, that's why
Mm.
I want you to be really cautious about what you're making into blocks, because it's really, really easy to build a bunch of them. It's kind of problematic to remove them. And that's kind of the thing. I don't get why can't I right click and delete? Right?
Right,
don't
yeah.
know.
I thought that's what it is.
Right. But for some reason, it does not allow you to delete blocks once you could explode it, you can insert it, you can copy it to favorites, you can see it in your recents. But yeah, I will get back to you to see if there's a way that I can figure out easily to do it without going through the block editor and managing it that way. I just didn't want to get into the block editor tonight. It's too much
Gotcha.
to deal with, especially for
Say-
this simple of a block.
Say, Graham,
Gotcha.
Yes.
I had a similar thing where my doors were messed up, so I had to make a new right swing door. And then I
Okay.
was like, oh, I have this other door here, and I just right clicked and I said clear from recent list, and then it was
Yeah,
just
but that's
gone.
still in your recent list.
Okay.
So if I click current drawing, you're welcome. So you can do that again. You can kind of quote unquote filter it by what you want, right? You could remove this from my recent. So I could remove this one, the test triangle. I could remove from recent list. Okay. But it's still going to be in the current drawing. That's
Oh, I
the
see.
thing.
Okay.
So it's still there, but you're just not seeing it in your recent. So you could tailor this down to what you wanted if you had some extras. But they still exist in that stupid current drawing. And when you right click, you can't do anything except insert or copy it. So why they make it so hard, I don't know.
Mhm.
But they do.
Hey, Graham,
Yes.
how do I make my numbers for my measurements larger so they're easier to see?
Perfect. So 2 ways to go about that. One, we could click on this, right click on it and click select similar, and it's going to grab all your dimensions.
Okay.
Okay, so if you've got all of them, let's say that all of them were at 2 inch, right? Which they probably are by default.
Yeah.
You could come over here and change the dim style for all of them at once, right? I've got 36 dimensions selected. I'm going to make them all 6 inches.
Thank you.
So that's the way to change it on the back end, Jordan. On the front end, though, which is the better way to go about it, unless you find out later that and you need to update something. But if you know that, hey, if you made a dimension, you're like, that's too small, I don't want to deal with that. Come up to this annotation drop down and change it right here. So it says dim 2 inch in yours, change it to dim 6 inch. And by default, we're now drawing a 6 inch dimension.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else before I wrap up? So please send in, and I want to iterate this again. Please take a screenshot and send in your screenshot. Every week I'm still getting more and more DWGs. It's growing back. So I don't know why, but this week I got 4. So let's take a screenshot so we don't have to download them and open them. And then I think somebody sent me a .bak file, which is an AutoCAD backup file, which I can't open without the reference file that it starts with. So screenshots are super helpful. It's easy. Okay. All right. Anything else? All right, so let's go ahead
Thanks,
and
Graham.
just, again, submit your screenshot showing at least your floor plan that we drew up and the blocks that we made. If you have the second floor plan, we're able to copy that and then bring those blocks in. That's great, okay? If you are not comfortable with the insertion of the blocks, practice. You guys got a week. We're gonna be using a lot of blocks in the next coming weeks, okay? But what that means is we can draw a lot more content a lot faster, okay? So it's just gonna get, we're gonna put in a few reference lines. We'll put in some tick marks for where we want windows to go and literally come through and just slap them in. It's gonna be cool. You'll like it. But that insertion point is huge. I cannot express that enough, is specifying that insertion point and knowing where you pick that insertion point. And is that what I want to do? Like on the windows, maybe we want to do centers, maybe we want to do right-hand sides, right? It doesn't necessarily matter, but however we draw out our construction lines, that's gonna matter. So if we draw out our construction lines with our windows, like this is the left-hand side of our window, we want to use the left-hand side as our insertion point. Otherwise, we're playing a bunch of games where we end up constantly moving a block that you just dropped in when you could have dropped it in the right spot. So, all right. Thank you. I will have the video posted probably tomorrow, and I will see you guys next week.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Graham.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Graham.
Have a good night, Graham.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.